What I've been asked to talk about today is building woodenware. The one thing I talked about, Kathy was talking about bee space. When it comes to building your woodenware, bee space is extremely important. The other thing I want to is, as you're building these things and you're thinking about what you want to do, let's be consistent in what you build. I think the new beekeepers should all start with the Langstroth hive. It's just a little bit easier to work with. There's lots of other hives and configurations out there. They have advantages and they have disadvantages. For new beekeepers, I think that this is got the most advantages for you. If you're going to start doing any pollination services, if you're going to move your hives, this has got the most advantages. That's why it's predominant throughout the industry. The others, they've got a few things on, maybe they're a little bit more natural, maybe. I think, woodenware is woodenware. This is bee space is so incredibly important on this thing. Very speculative when that inside space is the main space that you're trying to, if you're going to build it your own. This one here happens to be the box that Date Ant sells. You can get it from Man Lake and several of the other bee suppliers. They're all pretty standardized. I've used this square dogtail cut. That dogtail cut is very strong. It's probably one of the strongest boxes you can make, but you've got a lot of exposed end grain there. When I use my double dado, you've got a lot less end grain. After you've been in bee business for several years, you'll find that the water soaks into this open grain, and that's where your boxes start to rot out, is wherever that water can get into that open grain. And since I'm lazy and I don't get around to painting my boxes, that could be a problem. If you were to maintain your boxes and keep that stuff sealed up, your boxes will last longer. I've been in the bee business for a little over 10 years, and we're starting to lose some equipment now. Most of the equipment that I've lost in the past has just been old equipment that I've picked up. When I say also to standardize your equipment, we've talked a little about, this is a hive body. This is we call it the deeps. They have really 3 to 4 different types of frames that we can use. That one is the shallow, the plastic cell in it. There's your deep frame. This is one that it's not as popular around here. Some people refer to it as a Western or an Illinois frame. I thought I brought a shallow or a medium, and then that one. Well, that is the medium, and then the shallow one is still a little bit smaller. The advantages of these, I use a lot of I'll put double deeps. I'll put this same size box on top of that. When I go to work that thing, if this is full of honey, that box is going to weigh in excess of 100 pounds. If I'm using this depth of frames, now my honey supers, when I pull them off, they're going to be around 70 pounds. Now you're getting down to 60. When you get down to the shallows, they're about 50 pounds.
That's what you...
When you're pulling it off when it's full of honey.
But that's the amount of honey you net, or is that...
That's what the box and stuff is going to be. A deep, I might get 60 to 80 pounds of honey out of a deep. So it's going to be over 100 pounds when I pull it off of there, if it's completely full and capped off honey. So if you've got 4 different sizes of frames to worry about, a lot of people are also going to an 8-frame box. This again makes it a little bit lighter, and that's a fairly standard frame. I mean, 5 frames are usually considered nooks. That's a starting box. The 8 frames is very popular in this area because again, it's a little bit lighter to work, and it's a little bit easier on your back. Or to add honey supers, an 8-frame box. And then she'll hand me a bunch of. Now can't put the lid on that. So we're running around trying to find 10 frames the same size, all to go in there. It just gets really confusing. Even at my office, where I only just have the 2 or 3 sizes, sometimes I'm going out there to work honey, and I'm pulling the honey off, and there's 4 frames of honey in here, and I don't want to pull the other 2. I'm going to leave those for the bees. I've got to fill that box back up. Well, what if I don't have any frames this size to fill it back up with? I can't fill it up with that, because then I can't, well, that one. I can't fill it up with that, I can't put the lid back on it. So if you leave it open, I'll be back next week. I'll come back next week and I'll put a frame in there. I forgot which box I had. You come back in about 2 weeks, you take the lid off. There's the most beautiful frame of wax right here that goes all the way down to this other box, glued to the lid. It looks just like this was hanging in there, but there's no wooden frame, there's no plasticell, it's just a perfect sheet of wax sitting there that's hooked onto the lid. So you can cut that and stick it into one of these with some rubber bands and put it back in there, but you've caused yourself a lot of problems. You know, bee space is real important. If you have like a couple of those open, sometimes they won't be nice and smooth this way, sometimes they'll go this way. And so all of your frames are then glued together every couple of inches. If you look at the way these frames are made, they all come down to the kind of jog. That would make it a little bit easier, but when you put these 2 frames together, based off the plasticell, you've created just the right amount of space in here to where the bees can draw that cone out to the right height to make their brood box or their honey box and still have that bee space. That is the scientific space that we want that's in there. I run a lot of 9-frame boxes, and you'll hear a lot of people run 9 frames. You put 9 frames in a 10-frame box, and now you have to space those apart just a little bit. You'll still get about the same amount of honey in that out of that box, but they'll draw it out a little bit taller. If you're putting brood in there, it'll be short, because all your brood cells are going to be exactly the same height. But if they're drawing honey out, they will actually draw those out beyond plasticell and beyond the wood. It makes it a lot easier to cut the frames off, especially mine. I drop it into a decapper that has vibrating blades that come up and cut it. And if it's sticking out just a little bit beyond, it cuts all up, opens them all up. And if they're all drawn down like the 10 frames would be, a lot of times you got to go back in with the capping scratchers and open the cells back up before you extract them. So kind of think about what you're going to do when you get into beekeeping, and if you've been in there and you've got some of this equipment, how do which way do I want to go? Do I want the heavier boxes and have fewer of them? Do I want the smaller boxes that's easier on my back to carry? And try to standardize your equipment.
Would you use the deeper ones for the brood boxes though?
Deeper ones are for the brood box.
Always.
And I pretty much always run a deep, at least one deep for the brood. My bees seem a lot 2 double deeps. If I have double deeps and they're filling all of that with brood, then they don't seem to get up into the top part nearly as much. Build the boxes. I said you can get your table saws and your potatoes and get it, or for the price you really can't beat going up to one of the bee supply houses and just buying a box like this. When you go to put this box together, there's handles on them. Handles go to the outside. I have actually bought boxes from Data, put together, and one of the handles was on the inside. And the end caps, you know, the ends, there's this dado up here. That's for your frame to hang on. So that sits down inside there. So you know that dado's got to be at the top, not at the bottom. Your handle will also suggest the top of that box. When you go to put these things together, if your handles are to the outside, these squares go together so that together and it's flat on the top and the bottom. If you tried to put it together backwards, you're gonna have a thing hanging down on the bottom. I've actually bought them where they had actually put them together backwards, and you just then take a little piece of wood and got them to. Okay. When I put my boxes together, I use glue on everything. And I look at this and make sure that top and this top match. Everything that is going to touch wood, I'm going to use glue. This time I happen to have Gorilla Glue, Type Bond. Any of your wood glues that is a Type 2 wood glue is what you're going to want to glue it together. The Type 1 is not, even though this stuff is water soluble, once it dries it is not. The Type 1 is not water resistant, and your box would come back apart on it. You look at it now. These ends here, even though they're exposed to the weather, you don't need any glue because they're not going to be touching. So I'll fill these three sides with glue and these three sides with glue, and it's messy. My brother used to hate me in the cabinet shop. I thought if a little glue was good, a lot was better. And if it ran down the side of the cabinet, I knew I had enough glue. My bee boxes, I can build them that way, and I don't care. But you're building a cabinet and you have a little bit of glue, it's not going to take the stain. And so it's all got to be cleaned up, all got to be sanded. You just created yourself a lot of extra work. Once that box is together like that, I put clamps on them. We're going to run some screws or staples through every single joint. So I'm going to run one there, there. Normally on my deeps, I'll put screws top and bottom, and then here and here on all the way around. Then I staple the rest of them. You can run screws, you can run nails, anything that's going to kind of help hold that box together. I have 8 of these clamps to put one box together, especially on a deep. Because I want those joints, in order for them to be a good solid joint, they've got to be pressed together and held together. There's 2 clamps, one of them pulling one way, one's going the other way. So when I get done with that on mine, I'll have 8 clamps on that box. You can hit the ones that you can get with your nails and your screws, and then let that set till the glue dries up. The thing that I have used in the past that works fairly well, being a beekeeper, probably a lot of you have ratchet straps around. Whenever I move a hive, I put a ratchet strap around it. I don't care about the propolis. That's going to have a ratchet strap on. I can tell you how many times I've picked a beehive up, started to move it, and had the screen bottom board fall off of the bottom. And now you're standing there holding a hive that's about 100 pounds with 60,000 very upset bees in it and trying to put it on a truck. So I've got lots of ratchet straps. This ratchet strap can also be used to pull your boxes together if you don't have the clamps. This box has to be square. When I put my box together and it looks like that, how many frames am I going to put in there?
None.
You could probably get 9 in there, and then you'll have problems getting them out. And also, when you go to step this on top of your other hive, it's not going to fit. There's going to be a gap over here or over there, and you'll never be able to get it. So you want all of your boxes to make sure that they are really square. So you get you one of these. Make sure that box stays square while the glue dries up. We haven't had questions on building our boxes.
You don't use a sealer on it then?
Pardon?
You don't use a sealer on the open ends. You were talking about how it starts to rot.
That's just the glue. When you paint them, you're going to want to seal up this open end.
Okay.
That's what the paint.
I didn't know if you couldn't because of chemicals, or is there something you avoid, you can safely use with it or not?
No, it's just the glue is there to, and actually once that glue is in there and set up, is stronger than the wood itself. If you try to break that apart, the glue isn't going to separate. It'll separate 32nd of an inch away. We're going to likely pull little pieces of wood out of each piece, because the glue penetrates into that wood and then it hardens up.
My problem is I'm lazy, I'll buy the kit made.
You what?
I'm gonna buy them pre-made.
A lot of times I put another wax coating on them. The last few years, the wax coating seems to be insufficient. Instead of them pulling it like they're supposed to, you get a lot of burr comb. I mean, you'll have maybe a piece of burr comb here and here connecting the two together. I think it's just the amount of wax that's on these. I'll pass these around. That's one that came straight from the box. I bought that roller. I just got a crock pot. I need to melt some wax in it. I just put this in and I roller it, and you can see the wax difference. They will also pull this one out a lot faster. They don't have to make any wax in order to pull it out. They just start manipulating that wax that's on there and pull it out into the shape they need. We need a top, and if you ever go to the bee college, that's the top bar. These are side bars, and that one is the bottom bar. Now these are, I thought I grabbed me deeps this morning, Rick. You put your side bars on the top bar, and then put your, again, where am I going to put the glue? Any place that the two pieces of wood touch. You can hammer little nails in that thing. If you're building very many of them, it gets very tedious. I think I found this staple gun at a pawn shop for $35. Those boxes of staples, I think 5,000 in a box. I'm on the 4th or 5th box, so it's shot a few staples. That one has turned out to be a very good gun for me. Another thing I found online is that putting these things together can be very time consuming, and then you pop the plasticell into them. We tell people don't go online, so I found this jig online. And you can, this way you can build about 10 frames in the time it would take you to build about 2 frames with the other method. You just take your side bars, because they're mediums, you gotta go the right way. Once you get out through this now and run your staples through here, the most important staple, which a lot of even I bought hives from professional beekeepers, the most important staple on this whole thing goes right in here. When you're in there with that hive tool and you're prying on this thing, and they've glued this stuff down, what are you prying on? You're prying up on this thing. That one there, because it's got nails in it, I know it's one that I bought from someplace, and I just got to tell you that thing is going to come apart, even though it was glued together, because they didn't put that nail. It came apart down below, but normally they'll come apart. This is all glued into your with the propolis. You got to pull that out of there. It will come apart right here and leave your frame down in there. And then you've got something like this that's full of honey, 10 pounds of honey. You know, oh, now what do I do? Now I can't put that in the extractor because it's going to fly apart on you. But that nail right there is the most important nail in the whole putting that thing together. It gives you so much more strength. You're not going to have that aggravation. Eventually this frame would come apart on me, lifting it out of a beehive full of honey. They've got lots of them that I bought from people, and I try to go back and put them together and put that other nail in there. Then you flip that over. You can put the last box in there. And you can do the same thing with your glue and your nail. Put all your bottom.
Put the insert in it yet?
Pardon?
You don't put the plastic in it?
No.
Oh.
Once you get it all together, it can sit in here and the glue is gonna dry, and these are gonna be square. Just like with the box. Do not. That thing can go together and be whopped. But if it's in this jig, that's holding it upright. Personally, sometimes I'll pop them right out of there right after they get done. That easy. Now the smaller ones, like this one, it's a little more work to get that plasticell in and out of there. But you can get them in and out. But if you put that plasticell in there, again, the plasticell is straight right across the side. You can look at that on the side. Okay, that one is now got a big gap down here, and it's got a gap up here. That's the one I just broke apart. Once that glue dries, then it helps hold that.
Do you
that all
ever,
together.
after you've used them one time, do you ever have to clean them? Or
Yes, I do.
disinfect them or
If-
anything like that?
If your hive has died out and the wax moths get in there, then you've got to clean them out. They'll make a pretty good mess. That is one that the wax moths have eaten all the wax off of that frame. The droppings are from the wax moths. The little white shells are from the wax moths that are in there. So that one I wouldn't want to really put that back in. I'll just take this one as clean as it is. I'll take an air blower, blow it all off, paint it with another coat of wax, and put that back in. I would never take that one apart. It takes about 8 pounds of honey to make 1 pound of wax. They have to eat. They produce wax like we produce fat. They have to eat something to produce it.
That would not be a problem for me at all.
Yeah.
But I can see how they are.
So yeah, you could figure if you're going to put these back in versus one, there might be a couple of pounds of wax in here.
Oh, so you just
So
keep
now
using
you're going to
it.
get 16 pounds less wax if you were to scrape that off. I've got people that I know that they do a lot of candle making.
Mhm.
They love to scrape. They take that frame and they harvest their wax. They can scrape it all out, run it all out, take every bit of wax they can, melt it down. You definitely just leave it on there and put it back in there. Then they don't have to go do all that work of reshaping everything. They just fill it back up, put a new capping on it. You can go 2 or 3, 4 years with the same wax. But now, like in the summer, you've got to have a place, and there's no honey flow going on right now. If you put this box, wherever it went, that box down there, if you put that on top of a beehive right now, you've given them too much space. They can't protect all of that much space, so now the wax moths move in. They're going to go up to the place that's unprotected, and their larvae is going to start going through. Once they get established, then they're going to move down into the rest of the hive, and you can actually kill your hive.